The banks will fail, 401ks will collapse, and Dutch Bank in Germany, rumors have it that they will be filing bankruptcy very, very soon. It just hasn't hit mainstream media. And many people on YouTube are talking about we're going to have civil war in America. Hey gang, this is Mike with MrNoFluff.com, and today we're going to be talking about how I believe, in my opinion, and this is not financial advice, that the banks in America will fall, will go bankrupt. There'll be runs on the banks, not only in America, but it's a global event, which leads me to Dutch Bank that we'll talk on in a minute. Now, why do I think that banks will default? Well, American and European, well, any bank that subscribes to fractional reserve lending means exactly that. The banks have fraction of your deposit. So if you go there and you drop $10 off, the bank only has $1 that they are supposed to have as a reserve in case people want their money. And the whole system is a shenanigans because the dollars that you have are being printed by a privately owned corporation called the Federal Reserve. And actually the Constitution was changed, amended in the middle of the 1920s, 1930s, for central bankers, the Federal Reserve, to be able to be existed, because our founding forefathers did not want bankers, they didn't want taxes, they didn't want inflation and other things, and that's why there was a separation that's why there was a revolution. So they wrote in the Constitution that Big Brother is the only one that's able to coin silver and gold for currency, and the government let go of that power in the last collapse that we called the Great Depression. And now the same thing is happening. In my opinion, we're about to hit the collapse of the century, because there is what's called derivatives. Other words they use for that is called shadow banking. That the number of dollars that are being speculation on future contracts, if I can put it in derivatives, is so much that it overcomes all the world's currency. It overcomes all the world's economic GDP. It overcomes all the gold and silver that has already been mined. And the derivative market, or the shadow banking or untraditional banking system, which Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, all these companies are intermixed together, but it's not being disclosed out, okay? The problem is that the derivative market, the shadow banking, whatever you want to call it, I mean, it doesn't matter, just, something that's not traditional, that most people don't understand it. You have to have a PhD, and if you have a PhD, you still don't understand it. Overcomes all the money in the world, including gold and silver, including cryptocurrencies, including all the real estate, including the richest companies in the world, like Apple, like Google. You put all those together, the shadow banking derivatives overcome every money out there in the world. And so this thing is just a gamble. It's like a casino that's done, you want to say, underneath the table, that the public and regulators don't get to see. One great example is 2006, 2007 real estate crash was because of two things. The first thing was that mortgage-backed securities, well, you could say multiple things, but mortgage-backed securities being lumped up and sold on the secondary market, where anyone can buy it in their 401ks, or investors all over the world end up buying it. And there was corporations that are like Moody and something, I forgot their name, that rate different assets, and they were rating as A, and really they were subprime pieces into it, which made it a very toxic asset. But they lied. They were all in bed together, is what I'm trying to say too. Okay, so in the last economic collapse, meltdown of the real estate, bankers and Wall Street created different assets, derivatives, in a sense that they packaged up, they made it look real shiny. They had other corporations say, "Hey, this is a really good thing. It's a A," when it really was a C or a bad investment, toxic investment. And then they sold it to 401 investors, 401k investors. And I'll talk about that in a second, which is basically the retail people, what they call dumb money. Okay. And then they sold the stuff to bigger buyers like pensions and all kinds of pensions, teacher pensions, firefighters, all kinds of corporations, etc. And 401 brokers and so on, everyone bought into it. And when they were selling to the bigger guys, they provided them with something called an insurance. Okay, but it wasn't called an insurance. It was called what was the name? I'm freestyling it. Swap derivatives, something like that. Basically, what that was is when they sold to the bigger players, they said, "Look, we'll sell you insurance because we know this asset is toxic. We're going to sell you it." They didn't call it insurance because then they would have to have reserves. So they sold them like a policy, and that's what led to Lehman Brothers going bust. That's because once domino started falling, okay, the banks were belly up, but the people that offered to insure these risky assets also went belly up, and it was a domino effect of non-liquidity in the market. Because remember, everything comes back to fractional reserve lending, which means that whatever's out there's only a fraction of it out there. The rest is just being invested into risky things that most people don't understand. Okay, that's why I brought to you guys, like just a couple of days ago on my YouTube channel, for example, KB Homes. For every $5, for every $1 they bring in, they're indebted 4.7 times that. So simply put, for every $5 they bring in, $4 they're indebted to, and only they have one. And they call this as a very successful business, and you can buy into their scheme on the stock market. Okay. Now, which brings me to the 401ks and why it will collapse. Because if you please just do your research on what happened the last 2006, 2007 401 collapse. Hundreds and thousands and millions of people lost a lot of their money. They lost 30%, 40%, 60% of their money. Now, what people don't understand is that by them delegating their work or delegating their responsibility to a 401 manager they think they're going to make them safe. What they don't realize is that why were 401s created versus pensions? Because corporations, the ones that are closest to the money, the printing money, the Fed, they get all this free money where the average person doesn't get that. It cost them a lot of money. It was a big liability for them. So they created another scheme called 401, which allowed the average worker that doesn't know shit about investing, right? They're just like green as hell. That's why they call them dumb money, right? Not me, the elites. They call dumb money, and they created something called 401k for people that don't know what the hell they're doing to invest into the stock market. And the stock market, like the 2006, there are other companies that are supposed to be not part of these organizations that are going to rate them like A, B, C's, and they were corrupt. So you have millions of people invested in something that they trust some other third party, that third party was in bed with the bankers, and let millions and millions of people's 401s crushed. Okay, and the reason that 401 was created is because to allow the corporations, the big brother and so on, not to have all the responsibilities of growing the workers' money. Because before it was pensions, corporations, the smart people that started the corporations, right? They knew how to grow their money. That's why they had successful businesses. They were on the hook. They were responsible for growing the workers' money. But be, things happen. They want to cut corners. They want to make more money. They don't want to be on the hook. They don't want to have the responsibility. So they defer that into the actual worker. And they say, look, Bob, when you get your paycheck, you can choose which option do you want, A, B, and C, and there's going to be this much stocks or different types of stocks, and you just pick. You want risky. They try to make it easy as possible in a sense for the dumb money to put. But the dumb money, the actual worker, they don't really understand the corporations. They don't have the time to research them, but they trust into their mortgage broker. I mean, not mortgage broker, their financial advisor, whatever. They trust in them. But meanwhile, these guys are making so much money in fees, right? By helping dumb money, not what I call them, the bankers call dumb money, decide where they should invest. And the whole 401k was created to eliminate the corporations and the governments to be responsible for raising their people's money at higher and higher and delegate that to the actual workers. And the workers don't know shit. So they pay handsomely to a bunch of fees that they think they're paying, but there's a bunch more that's not being disclosed they have to pay. And then end of the day, that worker is responsible for their own money if it goes up, if it goes down, if it goes sideways. And meanwhile, the whole scheme of the stock market, in my opinion, not financial advice, is going up and up and up, right? Even though we don't have a good market right now. Right now, you see farmers, bankruptcy is high as ever been, guys. It's, bankruptcies in farmers. You can see signs in the economic, like there's 3 restaurants I eat at, 2 of them already closed down, guys. So why is this? Why is the average Main Street suffering when the stock market is going up? Well, my theory, my thing is manipulation. It is people are manipulating, just like they did the 2006 with subprime and mortgage-backed securities, where they lied to investors or lied to anyone that bought into those stocks that these were high-grade assets. In reality, they were subprime, and we know what happened. Millions of people lost their jobs. Millions of people lost their retirement, and these are people in their 50s and 60s are supposed to retire. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but for me, I want to be in control of my own money. I mean, I have to be in control to make the money. Why would I make the money? Why would I delegate it to some other guy that doesn't give a shit about me? He says he does but if he did, he would do something called like profit sharing, right? I do profit sharing because I believe in my stuff and I know my stuff works. If you take action, you're going to do deals. But the way these guys do it, if the stock goes up, stock goes sideways, stocks go down, it doesn't matter. They already made their fees. And I don't think that's really fair for me to invest my money into some, Fidelity, or I'm not even picking on these guys, any of these establishments, and let them invest my money, while meanwhile they're charging me all these fees from this hand, and then when I'm not looking, they're charging a bunch of other fees from another hand, and that's called the system that we have. And guys, if you just go back, if you get into my private forum, I just uploaded 2 videos back in my 10 years ago that CBS, if I'm not mistaken, did about these things, because I know when I say it, most people are not going to believe it. They want to from a recognized company. And now you can see that, how they took over a bank. They didn't tell anyone. It was very, very fast. They waited till like midnight, and at midnight, they just went in, took the keys, and the next day when everyone came in, the employees, the customers, they were like, hey, the bank has been taken over by the FDIC. Now, a lot of people say, well, the banks, that when they fail, it's not going to happen in America because we have FDIC. And you're absolutely right? We do have FDIC insurance. And in my opinion, FDIC will work on 1 bank, 2 bank, 3 bank, 25 banks. But as I said earlier, because of the derivatives, out comes so much more than there's money in the world. If you include the richest people, all the money in the world, it droves it, right? Like all the money in the world is like this much, and then all the derivatives or shadow banking, whatever you want to call it, is like this much. And I brought it to you on my YouTube channel, a visualization of it, okay? Not by me, by other people, so you can put the dots together, okay? Why I don't think the FDIC is going to be able to do anything is because if one of the bigger banks fell, which in my mind, they're already falling, they already are bankrupt, because we're having repo bailouts. We're having repo bailouts where we're bailing out the repos right now. It used to be 75 million a day. Then it went to 120, billion. I'm sorry, 75 billion. Now it's going to 120 billion a day. So right now there's a bank to bank run, and there are banks that you're probably banking with that are bankrupt. They're just not letting you know about it. That's why the Fed is bailing them out, dude. I just don't know how to say it, right? So they're not going to come tell us, okay? And they're going to play as cool as possible. And that's why if you're in my free form, my community, there should be a link there. Join, it's totally free. I bring you 2 videos you should watch. That's not by me, by so called traditional media that actually investigated, and they talk about how the banks fell and no one knows about it, and they quickly go in there and take over. Okay, and also they brought that because that in that video because that was a great situation that the FDIC was able to save. But what happens when there's 100 banks that fell? What happens when there's like 1 or 2 major banks that fell and they have so much of derivatives? Which brings me to Deutsche Bank in Germany, that there's rumors right now that Deutsche Bank has filed bankruptcy, and because it's over the weekend, we're not seeing it. And why does that matter in America? Because there's so many derivatives. There's so many derivatives between Deutsche Bank and American banks. Okay, some of the top elite American banks, and many people don't remember that we had to go bail out the American banks like. So many guys, so many, just Google it, okay? And now these guys are in bed with Deutsche Bank that, again, there's rumors that they filed bankruptcy, but it's over the weekend, so it's not being public. And when that thing falls, okay, all these other banks, because a derivative is basically a contract that for somehow they're going to say, hey, if you default, like AIG, if you default, I'm going to insure this, or I'm going to do it for this. Something that's not being regulated in the traditional banking is shadow banking, is derivatives, right? Something that is not being regulated, and no one really knows what the actual numbers are and what's going on, because everything's underneath the table. And that's how the elites do it. That's how the bankers do it. They are doing it with underneath the table. No one knows about it. And that's why I say the banks will fail. In my opinion, they're already failed right now. We just don't know who they are because everything's behind the scenes. That's why we're having repo to repo bailout by the Fed, billions of dollars every day for weeks and months now, guys. And if they told you it was, hey, bank A or bank B, what would you do, right? What would you do? Leave a comment, man. What would you do if tomorrow they told you your bank was closed, right? What would you do? Right? Click the like button, guys. If you're on YouTube, click the like button. If you're on Facebook, click the like button. Thanks for everyone coming in. What would you do? But honestly, what would you do if you went to your bank and you couldn't take any more money out? What would you do if they limit you to only taking $50 a day or $100 a day? Can you live off $100 a day? Right? I mean, honestly, can you pay for your gas, for your food, for your kids, for your clothes, for your rent on $100 a day? Because this already has happened. This has happened in Venezuela. It's happening in Chile. There's so many different things that have already happened, right? We're having civil unrest of people all over the world, right? You have people civil unrest in Latin America, many different countries. You're having civil unrest in Middle East. You're having civil unrest in the EU, France, Spain. In Spain, their firefighters are rioting because they need more money. So, which brings me to, there's a lot of people on YouTube that says, hey, there's going to be a civil war in America after the impeachment of Trump. So I don't want any of this stuff to happen. But usually, what happens is that when the banking system fails, when the too elite fail, they try to cover it up with a war. If you look in the Great Depression, there was a war, right? World War II. So anytime shit like this happens, when we're going to have the collapse of the century, then they try to pull the wool of the people's eyes, so they don't know how they just screwed them really good. And so usually is a war. Now, we may have internal war, like civil war, or it can be external war, like the boogeyman Russia or the boogeyman China or whoever we can create, right? Because we gotta have war because it's gonna be a global effect. I mean, we're right now having Germany. Germany is one of the top leaders in the EU. They're the guys that are making the money. You heard the Mercedes, the Beamers, etc. They're the success of the breadwinners of EU. Now, Deutsche Bank filing bankruptcy rumors are, right? What do you think that's going to do to the whole EU, right? I mean, think about it. Now, Germany's coming out and been saying, hey guys, we're not going to bail out bankers. No one should bail out bankers. Now, their top banks is going to go under. Are they going to bail them out? Well, there was a little report that German, if I'm not mistaken, I'm just going on top of my head, in France, they were trying to talk a deal. They did a deal where if France banks go up, then Germany and its people are going to support them and bail them out. And if Germany banks goes down, then the France people have to pitch in and bail out the banks. So I'm thinking, man, maybe they know something we don't know. They're creating alliances for them to bail out the people, to bail out these banks. And why do I think it's possible World War III or possible war? Because history, when countries go into debt, when countries are about to lose, there usually is a war, because war is very, very profitable for the elites. Now it can be a civil war, right? And the elites they don't care, right? I mean, they don't care. They just want to be at the top, and that's why I'm a big, believer in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin separates the state from finances. It separates corporations from finances. It separates the bankers, because the bankers, they don't have their own money. They're using your money and my money and Bob's money and Jose's money and Sally's money and Mary's money to do fractional lending and only keep a small percentage as reserve. And what they're reserved, now they're gambling it on into derivatives, and which is a crazy, crazy amount. Now, if you don't believe me how much derivatives there are, please go to my YouTube channel or my blog and check it out. I do a visualization of how much money is in the world, including every country, and how much derivatives there are. And when you see the black sea of derivatives that Deutsche Bank owns, guess what? And here's the other thing, guys. Trump, right? Trump, what I call many other billionaires and millionaires, are debt investors, right? They are billionaires and millionaires because of debt. Okay, I know a lot of successful people that are where they are because they have billions of, if not millions, if not hundreds and thousands of dollars in debt. So they have all these things. That's because they're in debt. They didn't have this stuff through creative thought or imagination, or if they work really hard. Because today, it doesn't matter if you have a good gadget. Okay, what matters is, can you get other people to buy into your gadget on the stock market, what we call IPOs? Can you bring it public? Today, what matters is not do you have a good gadget, but can you borrow millions and millions of dollars from bankers? Because if you can do that, then guess what? You're going to be doing great. If you can borrow money, you're going to do great. That's why people grow so much. That's why companies grow. That's why GMC is workers on strike. That's why GMC and Ford are not making cars anymore, because all the attention came to growth versus making a better gadget. That's why Honda and Toyota are number one versus GMC in America. And that's why people were, if you look at Craigslist, the retail sale of a Honda or a Toyota, let's say Tacoma, versus an American made car or even a Mercedes made car is so much higher. Okay. Now, because they made better gadgets. And in America and many other countries, the big corporations closest to the printing press, right, the Fed, they get free money, and their whole goal is to expand. It's not about making better products. It's not about making better gadgets. What it's all about is growth. And who is paying for that? Who's going to pay the consequences for that? You. You're going to pay. Your 401's going to pay. Not financial advice, but this is just my opinion. You are the one that's going to pay like the people paid last time. Because the people in 2006 that lost their home, they paid. The people that lost their pensions, they paid. Okay? Do you think the banks paid? No. We bailed them out. And the same thing's going to happen this time. But instead of being bail outs, they're going to bail in and take our money and our savings. This is just my opinion. It's not telling you what to do or anything like that. And I don't have a crystal ball. But I just look over history. What did they do last time? Come on. They took everyone's home when they didn't even have the notes. It was called robo-signing. They were just signing away. Just Google it, right? They lent out money they didn't have, right? That's why they wouldn't bail out, because they didn't have their money, right? They tricked the people by creating mortgage-backed securities, selling it on the stock market, make millions of people buy it when they lied to them about the quality of the asset, which was a shitty asset. They said it was A. And the Fed came out and said the economy is good. The bankers, they never say, hey, the economy, I mean, think about it. The Fed hasn't been in business since the 1920s, 30s. They've never been right about the collapse or the recession or the depression. They've never been right about that, okay? So think about that. Why would they be right about that? Because this is the scheme they have. They're never going to come tell you, hey, man, the shit is about to melt down. And if the shit wasn't being melt down, why are they lowering the interest rate? Okay, why are they lowering the interest rate? If the shit is not about to be melt down, why is the Fed bailing out bankers behind the table, and they're not telling us who are these bankers? Is it Bank of America? Is it Wells Fargo? Is it, the banks that collapsed last time that we bailed out? And guess what? When the shit melts, you and Bob and all your friends and family are going to be the one that's going to be holding the shitty bags that are not going to pay you anything, okay? Because the banks will bail in, take our savings. You don't believe it? Just read your contract. When you deposit money into a bank, you're what's called an unsecured creditor. Unsecured creditor. Do you like the sound of that? Right? It's kind of like borrowing money from a credit card. That's why people don't pay their money on a credit card, because they're unsecured. The bank cannot go after their home. I mean, they can do other stuff to do that, but it's not like a mortgage, or it's not like a car loan where if you don't pay, they come repo real quick, right? Because they have collateral. So when I put my money into a bank, I'm an unsecured creditor. I don't even have collateral, and the banks can take my money in the bail-in. So that's one way they're gonna give it to the public, right? The other way is they've already made all kinds of bonuses. Right now, bankers are making record high bonuses. Record high bonuses, guys. Record high. CEOs, top managements, they're getting commissions, they're getting bonuses, they're getting top salaries. They're already making their money. They're already siphoning it up from the people, right? And guess what? Once the shit busts, you and I are the ones that are going to have to bail them out. And if you don't believe me, look at 2006, 2007, 2008, where we had to go bail out the bankers, guys. Now, this is my opinion of what I think is going to happen. Not financial advice, but the way it looks like is banks are going to collapse, 401s are going to get crushed, and the whole system where they created the 401s is to fool people, so say you're in control, because the pensions was too much responsibility for the corporations, for the elites to manage and grow. So they delegate that to you while charging a lot of fees to siphon your money while you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Because guys, it takes a lot of work to learn about stocks. It takes a lot of work to learn about real estate. It takes a lot of work to learn about any business, to how to play drums, anything. You can't, if I want to play drums, like, a tombak as we call it in Iran, I can't delegate it to some other guy to go play the drums for me to learn, right? If I want to work out and I want to get in shape, I can't delegate that to some other guy to go to the gym for me. I'm the one that has to get up there and do it. I'm the one that has to suffer. I'm the one that has to have sore muscles. I'm the one that has to sweat. I'm the one that has to go get the right equipment, tennis shoes, whatever. I'm the one that has to do it. Why is finances any different? Why do we think in America that, I get the money, I go work, I gotta get a college degree, I make the money, and then I'm gonna delegate it to some other goofball, right? Some clown that has never started a business, right? Has never started a business. Why do I want to allow him to invest my money for me? Well, because it's easy. It's easy because it takes a lot of time and energy for me to learn how to become a stock picker. It's going to take a lot of energy for me to learn how to start a business. It's going to be a lot of energy where I could just delegate to someone, and just because I'm ignorant, they are charging me a lot of fees up front, and they're charging me a lot of fees that they're not even telling me about. If you don't believe me, please join my forum. I just uploaded 2 videos that I document other established stream media talking about this about 5-10 years ago. My forum is totally free. There should be a link below. Okay, it's like community.mrnofluff.com to get access to that. Okay, so the bank is not going to tell you. Big Brother's not going to tell you. And the people that are investing your money are not going to tell you because they're making money. And the only one that's going to be able to tell you is you whenever you look at your statements and a lot of money has disappeared. Okay. And if you don't believe me, just Google 10 years ago what happened to millions of people that lost their money. But this time it's going to be a lot worse, because it's a global event and they're not telling you about it. And the more they don't tell you about it, the more I think that, it's going to be a global event. Sanjay, what's going on, man? He says, how's the job opportunities for foreigners in Canada? My man, I don't know, man. I don't live in Canada, but I think if you're in one of these free countries, right, like Canada, America, Great Britain, then as long as you're willing to take risks, there's a lot of opportunities. Like, if you come in one of these suppressed countries like Iran or something, right, or where I'm from, then no, there's too much corruption, right? But if you're in Canada, then if you're a hustler, you're willing to risk, you're willing to get the biscuit, dude, but it will take a risk, right? Good question. If you have any questions, let me know. Let me see what's out here on YouTube. Joseph, what's going on, man? I hope each boomer has kids. The Fed printing $4 trillion a month. Man, that is a lot of money. The future is cryptos, not Bitcoin. Okay? No shit bags. All right? Someone says, will millennials be responsible for their own parents like the rest of the world naturally? Dude, and that's a very good thing, guys. If you go back into my forum that I just posted on my community, which is totally for free, should be a link below. That same YouTube did a couple of videos about, senior citizens and how they lost everything. And now, it's very, very sad when you watch them, how they had all this money in the bank and now they're 50 years old, they're 60 years old, they're 70-year old, and then they have to go get a job at Starbucks, okay? When they used to be some kind of engineer, they made a lot of money, okay? And just to listen to their stories is heartbreaking, dude. It's just like, man, like, imagine your grandparents, now they got to go get a job and shit, man, because the way it's going with the inflation, with the printing of money, with interest rates going to zero, they don't pay anything if you're a saver, right? They don't give you nothing. And when it goes to negative interest rate, it's really good for debtors like Trump, right? Because the reason that he's wealthy is because he's so much in debt, right? So people that are debtors, what I call debtpreneurs, right? Debtpreneurs. If they're debtpreneurs, then they want interest rate to go zero because now if they go borrow money from the bank's going to pay them. But the problem with that is that the savers are now paying the banks for just holding their money in the bank for their savings, okay? There used to be a time in America and many other countries where if you had $100,000 in a bank, if you had $1 million in the bank, you could live off of the interest rate they give you. Today, if you have that money in the bank, you're actually going negative because inflation is higher than the interest rate any bank will pay you today, okay? And in the very future, the way it looks like it's going with negative and 0% interest rate, that if you're a saver, every month and every year you got to give the bank some money for holding your money safe for you, supposedly safe. But they don't even have the money, dude. That's why it's called fractional reserve lending. That's what I'm trying to say. You think the money is safe, but it's not there. And these stinky bankers have risked your money for their CEOs and for the top managers to get the highest salary, the highest bonuses, and to make massive profits because they know that they're too big to fail. They're not going to get broke. They're not going to go broke because this is not true capitalism. Big Brother last time bought out the banks. They bought Bank of America. They give them billions of dollars like, hey, we're going to be part of this corporation. You don't believe me? Check it out. So we're not living in the real true capitalism anymore. The bankers are owned by Big Brother. The stock market has been manipulated, but I don't know, by so many different players because if you look at the economy, jobs are going like this, but the stock market goes like this. Interest rates keep coming like this. Stock market keeps going like this, guys. People cannot pay for their living. They're getting into more and more debt. The stock market keeps going like this, guys. There's tariffs. Sign a war. Stock market used to go like this. And that's when I realized that, hey, there is no law like economic 101, law of supply and demand anymore, because this is a rigged game. And there's a rigged game, so the normal law like of gravity is not going to take effect anymore. If I have a rigged game, if I have an artificial room where I could adjust the gravity, adjust this, then it's a rigged game. I could do anything that doesn't now make sense anymore, because the law of nature has been broken, right? So I can manipulate anywhere I want, and that's why it hasn't been bellied up. But again, on the other side, when it goes, it's going to be like this. It's going to be all suddenly. It's working, working, working. It's not working anymore, okay? And a lot of people are going to be hurting, unfortunately, and that's why I do what I do, guys. Click the like button, guys. Click the like button. And one other thing, guys, if you're interested in doing deals, because this is not doom and gloom, right? This is not a doom and gloom. There's a lot of motivated sellers. I actually been looking for investments. Like, I've been looking for businesses to buy. I've been talking to a guy right now. He owns a Smoothie King, I think, and I'm negotiating maybe buying it. And there's a lot of motivated sellers out there, guys. Okay, so there's a lot of opportunities for me or anyone else that's willing to take risks. Now, it's really risky, right? I mean, yeah, it's risky. I can't lie about it. But with the risk comes a reward. And so when everyone goes this way, it's really risky to go this way, right? And that's what I'm gonna do, and that's what I've done since I've been a refugee to America since day one, and I'm gonna continue doing that, okay? And some of the stuff that I'm gonna go into is real estate and businesses. Last crash, I didn't do any businesses, but this year I'm like, hey, there are a lot of successful businesses that bought into the hype of growth, and they got indebted, and they got indebted, and got indebted, and there's a lot of ways that I can buy the equipment. I don't even have to take on the debt, right? And anyways, so there's a lot of things that's cool going on. If you guys are interested in joining my profit sharing, I'll be happy to share some of this information with you guys. If you're interested in working together and splitting the profits, then I want to work with you. Go to mrnofluff.com and we'll split the profits on real estate. Other opportunities out there, I think, is starting businesses that are going to be tailoring to, the crash. Like, for example, moving companies. Like, for example, loan mods, people that do loan modifications, right? For example, people that do short sales, okay? Real estate agency that understand how to do short sales, I think you're going to have a great opportunity to make money. There's so much opportunity out there in real estate, okay? Commercial real estate. I don't do commercial, but there are a lot of opportunities out there. Residential real estate, absolutely. And here's the greatest thing for me, that interest rates for most of these properties at all-time low, almost 0% interest rate, which is a great opportunity, because I'm not going to buy the house for cash, because the house is probably not going to have equity or significant equity. So all I'm going to do is just take over the seller's mortgage. That's it. I'm just going to take over their loan and start making payments, right? And great news for me is that the interest rate is all-time zero, almost, like 2%, 3%. In the history of America, we never had mortgages, 30-year mortgages, this low. There was a point in America where interest rate on a 30-year mortgage were like 18%. Today, it's almost zero. So when I take over someone's payments that have almost zero interest rate, we have inflation like crazy. The cost of goods are going up, which means rental properties are going up and up. So we're in a situation where rental properties are going up in the roof, but the mortgage, PITI, your monthly payments, is going to be very, very low on properties that are financed through VA or FHA or conventional bank, for a traditional lender, because interest rates are so low. So when I buy this property, cash flow crazy, cash like never heard of, because we're in a situation where everything's been manipulated, and there's going to be crazy like returns on investments if you're willing to take a risk. Now, again, taking risks sucks. You can lose your money. I've lost a lot of money, guys. I started a lot of businesses. I lost a lot of money. I'm not going to fluff you, right? But I also make a lot more money than I've lost. Sometimes it sucks. It's depressing, man. I can tell you times that I've lost money and I've been very, very depressed, right? I've been depressed for 1 month, 3 weeks, didn't want to even get up out of bed, right? But again, I got into the ring, I got boom, 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 and I'm in the ring. And even today, I take significant amount of risk because that's how you be your dreams. If you think about it, every time you go outside in your car, you're taking a risk because you get in the car wreck and you could die. You don't believe it? Well, check out the statistics on car wrecks. Check out how many people are injured in car wrecks, guys. So life is a risk. Now, for me to have a job and work for the man is the kind of risk I don't want to do. For me to do speculation investing where I buy stocks I don't know shit about, I trust my advisor, I don't want to take that risk either. I don't mind taking risks that I'm in control because if I make mistakes, great, it hurts. I get depressed, but here's the positive thing: I learn from it, right? And the other reason I want to do stuff that I'm in control is because if I win, it's my fault. If I lose, it's my fault. But if I put my money into, let's say, Apple, and Apple brings shitty products like they are doing now, because I used to be an Apple fan, but now I'm actually thinking about moving from Apple to a different platform, but it's hard because I've been with them so long. But I can't control that. Apple can bring bad products. If I buy Tesla and people start burning up in their cars, I can't control that. But I can control me negotiating with this business owner that's highly motivated and they're trying to sell me Smoothie King. I can negotiate with them and do all kinds of creative stuff, right? I could just buy their business for $1,000, for $10,000, where in reality, in another time, I would have to bring 300,000. See, that's what motivation. That's what the economy, when it's like this, it does. It creates motivation. Things that are high returns but high risk. Same thing with real estate. A lot of people are going to be motivated, and it's going to be really risky. Just like with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is really risky. I bought it from 11. I bought it at 3,500. I bought it between. It's risky, right? But I'm willing to take the risk. Does that mean that I'm going to lose money? Absolutely, absolutely. Does it mean that I can make a lot of money? Absolutely. That's why I took the damn risk, because I speculate on Bitcoin that I'm going to make money. But in my business, I'm not doing a speculation. I'm in control. Okay. So listen to what I just said. In my business, I'm in control. In my rentals, when I had them, I was in control. In my moving company, when I had it, I was in control. The bankers were not in control. The stock was in control. Some other person was in control. I was in control. If I succeeded, it was me. If I didn't succeed, it was me. So, and I have speculation investing like Bitcoin. I can't do anything. I put my money in. I'm in it for the ride, dude. It doesn't matter what it does. I'm in it for the ride. So in 2019, 2020, I never done speculation, but I got into speculation investing with Bitcoin. But there's great opportunities where I can be in control, like buying businesses that are already there. I've seen restaurants, I've seen pizza places, I've seen fitness businesses. I told you guys I'm negotiating with a shake business. Like the smoothie shakes you drink. All kinds of businesses are out there. So the question is, what do I like? What I mean, I'm not gonna buy a business if I don't like it. Now, the reason I thought about this might be a good fit for me because I like working out. I've been in the gym all my life. I got my degree. I got a lot of certifications. I'm like, hey, this might be a cool thing where I can learn and I can set up some people do it for me and have a side income when I'm not there. It's not a big risk for me, especially if I'm just going to give the guy a couple of grand, right? A couple of grand to buy a business that cost me $200 or $300. Sounds like a hell of a deal. Now, is there a risk? Absolutely. Can I lose my money? Absolutely. But that's what it is to be an entrepreneur. I never look at things as risk because it's given, right? I look at where I'm not good at. What do I need to make this thing successful? How much do I have to learn? But I don't ever look at like, hey, this is a risk, dude. I mean, everything is a risk. Buying Bitcoin is a risk. Buying real estate is a risk. Writing a book is a risk. Quitting my job, if I had a job, is a risk. Being my dreams is a risk. Everything's a risk. And I'm okay with it, right? So the question is, are you okay with taking risks? Because if you're not, don't do it. Don't do it. Stay with the job, okay? But unfortunately, we live in an era right now where even jobs are not even safe, guys. Even jobs are not safe. How do I know? Well, if you're in my private forum, I posted 2 videos, and you can hear a bunch of Americans all over America, all ages, talking about how they lost their jobs, how their 401s evaporated, and you can listen to their sad stories because it broke my heart, and that's why I did this video for you guys, because when it comes, it's going to be quick, man. It's working. It's not working anymore. And that's how it works in many countries, And that's exactly how it's going to be in America when it happens, guys. When it happens. And it's too late to do anything that time, guys. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Click the like button. If you're interested in working with me and splitting the profits, go to mrnofluff.com and join me every Saturday. Peace.